So today is D-Day in the WNBA. It is D-Day, and in my opinion, we have got a situation where we have now got players that are being cut that are legitimately good. Like, this isn't a situation where it's like, oh yeah, Marta Suarez got cut and she's not going to do anything. We've now got a situation where in the last 3 hours, I believe 3 players got cut. That if the Indiana Fever don't sign any of the 3, it's malpractice. It is malpractice. The Fever don't need Shatori Walker-Kimbrough.
In a moment that left everyone stunned, Stephanie White watched in disbelief as the waiver wire suddenly exposed the one player who could completely reshape Caitlin Clark's rookie season into a legitimate championship pursuit. Yet the Indiana Fever front office stayed silent, allowing what looked like a rare golden opportunity to slip into confusion and frustration. While analysts reacted in real time with visible disbelief at the lack of urgency, and as the league's chaos unfolded like a D-Day. Level scramble for clarity. The perfect missing piece for Caitlin's offensive system remained right within reach, intensifying the pressure in the room as the reality of the situation set in, because one missed decision here had the power to derail the entire season blueprint, turning what should have been a defining move into a striking example of missed execution that only became obvious when it was almost too late.
That if the Indiana Fever don't sign any of the 3, it's malpractice. It is malpractice. The Fever don't need Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. There are 3 power forwards that have been cut. There have been 3 power forwards. The GOAT got cut, but I will say this, Raven Johnson a better option. I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth, but Raven Johnson a better option. Amy Okonkwo got cut by Dallas. Amy Okonkwo is a 6'3" forward, and she's big, she's strong, she rebounds.
Across the league, the WNBA has suddenly been pushed into what feels like a full-scale D-Day moment, where the fallout is far from ordinary roster movement and instead carries the weight of something historic, as the usual quiet exits of fringe players have been replaced by a shocking wave of genuine high-level talent hitting the market. And in just a matter of hours, the entire competitive balance has shifted dramatically, with 3 major power forwards unexpectedly becoming available. Not end of bench names, but established starters and rotation anchors who can immediately change a team's identity on both ends of the floor, creating a rare window of opportunity that smart franchises would normally rush to exploit. Yet for Indiana, the situation feels increasingly urgent and fragile, as the chance to capitalize is slipping away with the speed of a fast break in a playoff moment, leaving the pressure mounting with every passing second.
I will say this, Raven Johnson a better option. I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth, but Raven Johnson a better option. Amy Okonkwo got cut by Dallas. Amy Okonkwo is a 6'3" forward, and she's big, she's strong, she rebounds, and she shoots. Last season, she only played 8 games for the Wings, and it was her first stint in the W. She averaged 11 points per game. Did it on 50% shooting from the field, 90% from the line, and 33.
The moment Amy Okonkwo's name hit the release wire out of Dallas, it immediately sent shockwaves through coaching circles, leaving many questioning the logic behind the decision, because the production simply doesn't match a player being let go, as she stands at 6 feet 2 inches with the kind of physical presence that dominates the boards while also stretching the floor with confidence. Coming off a season where she averaged 11 points per game, shot a highly efficient 50% from the field, and an elite 90% from the free throw line, delivering a rare combination of size, strength, and offensive versatility that perfectly fits what the Fever are missing to take pressure off Caitlin Clark, and seeing a player with that level of reliability suddenly become available felt like handing away a guaranteed advantage, turning her release into a situation that looks like a dangerous oversight for Indiana if they fail to act quickly on a talent who could immediately fix their interior gaps.
She is. Can you imagine Damiris Dantas, but doesn't have that once in a season ability to go 4 or 5 from 3, and Dantas might have already used her once in a season. but better at every other aspect of basketball. And on a minimum contract for 3 more years. On a minimum for 3 more years. Let's not forget that. You don't have to pay her for another 3 seasons. Not only that, she is somebody that has played with Caitlin Clark on Team USA teams, as far as I'm aware. She also was in 2024 projected or initially.
What makes this situation even harder to ignore isn't just what Okonkwo delivered last season, but what her contract situation represents for the future, because it opens the door for what could be an absolute bargain, allowing the Fever to potentially lock her in on a minimum deal for multiple seasons in a league where every dollar under the salary cap has to be calculated with precision like a high-stakes chess match. And securing a proven double-digit scorer at that price point is the kind of hidden advantage championship teams are built on, especially when she recently dropped 8 points against the Las Vegas Aces just days ago, proving she can still produce against elite competition right now. And with Stephanie White fully aware that these are the exact types of roster decisions that define long-term success, the growing hesitation from Indiana's front office starts to look less like caution and more like a missed opportunity slowly slipping out of reach.
I was watching them play when they were losing every game. And I was watching them like, obviously Paige was good. The next best player on the team, I'm like, man, Kayla Charles has something about her. She just has something about her. She plays hard, she's smart, she does all the little things. I'm like, she's good, she's real good. And I was like, pushing, I was like, man, she should be starting over Dijonay. And then out of nowhere, she gets cut. And it's like, what the fuck's going on here? People are like, oh no, they're going to cut her because they're going to bring her back. And suddenly, Golden State snap her up. Golden State snap her up. And now suddenly Kayla Charles is making $600k a year at Golden State. She's been so effective.
Just when it looked like the situation couldn't escalate any further, Maddie Westfeld's sudden availability pushes everything into an entirely new category, because at 6 feet 3.5 inches, she brings the kind of stretch 4 skill set that immediately disrupts defensive schemes, highlighted by her explosive 25-point outing against the New York Liberty to close her last season. A performance that underscored her ability to produce against elite competition while also functioning as a reliable floor spacer who keeps driving lanes open for Caitlin Clark and punishes defenses from deep, and with projections once placing her as a potential 8th overall draft selection before she opted for a super senior year. Her blend of size, shooting, and basketball intelligence makes her a ready-made impact player now, not later. Yet she somehow remains in professional limbo despite already having chemistry with Clark through their shared Team USA experience, removing the usual adjustment period and making their fit feel almost seamless, while her defensive upside and high IQ further reinforce how naturally she fits into a fast-paced system built around versatility and spacing, creating the kind of roster alignment Indiana has been searching for. And in situations like this, when a franchise cornerstone already has a proven on-court connection with a player who perfectly matches her developmental timeline, hesitation becomes the real risk, because Westfeld offers a more complete two-way impact across the exact areas Indiana continues to struggle with, presenting arguably more long-term value than the current veteran-heavy rotation, especially when compared to teams like the Las Vegas Aces that have built sustained success through balanced, modern roster construction. Yet even with strong cases for both Okonkwo and Westfeld, the loudest storyline of the day centers on Sika Khan, widely viewed by insiders as the most essential target for Indiana, with many suggesting that letting her clear waivers would be a serious front office misstep, and despite returning from an ACL injury, her recovery has reportedly been exceptional, as she used her rehab period to deepen her understanding of the game, elevating her basketball IQ to a level that now draws comparisons with seasoned veterans across the league. The moment she stepped onto the court against the Atlanta Dream, it immediately became clear she belongs in a contender's starting rotation, delivering the kind of true 3 and 4-wing presence this roster has been missing for far too long, a role that nearly every serious team in the league has already locked down except Indiana, and that's exactly what makes the situation so difficult to overlook. Because if another franchise claims her, it becomes simple competition, but if she clears waivers, untouched and still returns without interest, it inevitably raises questions about the front office's decision-making, especially when breaking down what Sika Khan actually brings to the floor. She's the type of player whose impact goes beyond the box score, a 6 feet 2 inches versatile forward who can guard multiple positions between the 3 and 4, competing every possession with relentless effort, physical toughness, and advanced awareness that this front court currently lacks. And she is an developmental gamble or long-term experiment, but an immediate plug-and-play contributor capable of anchoring the defense while still providing efficient scoring, which is exactly the type of balance a team built around Caitlin Clark's offensive engine needs to complete its structure, making the contrast with Indiana's current rotation even more pronounced as they continue leaning on inconsistent, one-dimensional veterans while Con offers a far more stable, two-way presence that elevates every possession. She is clearly the more complete option, bringing stronger rebounding, superior defensive flexibility, and a consistently higher level of engagement across every play. And if the front office continues prioritizing underperforming veteran pieces over an emerging impact player like Con, it risks sending the wrong message about how aggressively they intend to maximize Caitlin Clark's rookie window and compete for a championship, because overlooking her could become a decision that echoes for years, especially when the usual argument of veteran leadership starts to lose weight against modern production, with past references to players like Shaturi Walker-Kimbrough and a title from years ago doing little to reflect current on-court reality, while top-tier contenders like the Las Vegas Aces and New York Liberty have already proven that sustained success is built through stacking high-impact, hungry contributors rather than relying on legacy value, making it increasingly clear that Indiana already has enough veteran presence, and what they truly need is immediate, winning-level production on the floor right now. They already have a solid core in place, with players like Erica Wheeler providing steady backcourt leadership, Aaliyah Boston showing a level of poise and maturity well beyond her years, Sophie Cunningham bringing valuable finals experience, and Katie Lou Samuelson offering reliable, veteran stability, which makes the argument for stacking more bench mentors increasingly difficult to justify, especially when what Indiana truly needs is athleticism that can match Caitlin Clark's pace in transition and finish possessions at the rim. And that's why continuing to prioritize roster spots for names like Shaturi Walker-Kimbrough over a more dynamic, two-way option such as Sika Khan starts to feel like a questionable direction, because this moment isn't about leaning on nostalgia or past reputation, but about building forward around a generational talent. And if Khan clears waivers only to land with a rival like the Chicago Sky, it would immediately be viewed as a major missed opportunity. Given her ability to provide multi-level versatility as a guard-forward hybrid who can stabilize rotations across the 3 and 4, strengthen defensive matchups, and offer the kind of switchable presence every contender in the league already has except Indiana. Now, with a real chance to correct that imbalance, the pressure on the front office continues to rise, because this is no longer just about individual roster moves, but about shaping the identity of a team built around a franchise centerpiece. And if they remain passive while opportunities like this disappear, it risks signaling a willingness to settle rather than pursue a true championship trajectory, especially when the financial fit is reasonable, the talent is available, and the on-court alignment is clear, as players like Amy Okonkwo, Maddie Westfeld, and Sika Khan all represent the modern blueprint of two-way contributors designed for a fast, spacing-heavy system led by an elite playmaker like Caitlin Clark, who consistently attracts multiple defenders the moment she crosses half-court and creates scoring windows that demand teammates capable of catching in traffic, finishing through contact, and punishing rotations with shooting and smart movement, something each of these players has already demonstrated at a high level, making it increasingly difficult for fans to accept the current roster imbalance when clear solutions are sitting in waiver range, and as silence from the front office continues. During this critical window, the risk grows that another franchise will step in and turn hesitation into long-term regret, because ultimately this is the kind of turning point where teams either adapt and evolve, or get left behind. This is the moment where a franchise is truly measured, not by intentions, but by action, because anything less than a decisive, forward-looking approach to roster building feels like a step backward for a team already anchored by elite talent, especially when one of Indiana's clearest ongoing concerns is its defensive stability, where outside of Aaliyah Boston the interior protection has been inconsistent, often allowing easy finishes at the rim and too many second-chance opportunities that swing momentum away, and that's precisely where Sika Khan becomes a potential game-changer, not just as a rim protector but as a disruptive interior presence who alters driving angles, controls the paint, and cleans up the glass with consistent physical effort. And when paired with Boston, she forms a frontcourt foundation capable of reshaping Indiana's defensive identity into one of the most reliable in the league, instantly changing how opponents attack and giving Caitlin Clark the freedom to operate more confidently and aggressively on offense, knowing the backline is secure, reinforcing the broader reality that Indiana is no longer in a developmental phase after drafting Clark. They are firmly in a win-now window where every roster move should reflect urgency, not patience. Holding on to players who cannot consistently deliver in high-pressure moments becomes a luxury that no contender can realistically afford, especially when expectations have already shifted from participation to contention, because fans are no longer showing up for potential alone. They want a team built to compete at the highest level, and when elite talent is left available on the waiver wire, the front office risks creating the perception that it may not be fully aligned with the demands that come with having a generational star like Caitlin Clark, which is why this moment demands clarity, conviction, and calculated aggression in roster decisions rather than hesitation or delay, bringing in players who elevate the group immediately instead of waiting for long-term development curves. And from a coaching standpoint, someone like Stephanie White would likely recognize the urgency of maximizing every competitive advantage in a compressed championship window, understanding that roster windows in this league move quickly, and that opportunities like this do not repeat often, especially when the current WNBA landscape is actively producing complementary pieces that fit Clark's style in real time, making this less about speculation and more about execution. Because Indiana now has a rare chance to position itself ahead of the league's evolving blueprint rather than reacting after others set the standard. They now possess the most valuable asset in the league in Caitlin Clark, and that alone should fundamentally reshape every roster decision the franchise makes, because when a generational talent of that magnitude is on the floor, the luxury of patience disappears, and the entire focus shifts toward urgency, fit, and immediate execution rather than long-term experiments or sentimental roster construction. And this is one of those rare moments where everything converges at once: elite attention, elite expectations, and elite opportunity, creating a window to surround Clark with overlooked but high-impact talent capable of influencing winning in real time, even without constant headlines. This is not the kind of situation that comes around often, and it certainly is not one that remains open indefinitely, which is why it calls for bold, decisive leadership from the front office instead of hesitation or overly cautious planning, because the era of gradual development effectively ends the moment Clark enters the picture at this level. Indiana is no longer operating as a rebuilding team searching for identity. It has already found its centerpiece and must now function with a contender's mindset every single day, meaning every decision has to prioritize fit over reputation, production over perception, and on-court chemistry over comfort or familiarity. What makes this moment even more significant is how clearly the league is shifting towards speed, spacing, versatility, and two-way impact, where teams that fail to adapt are quickly exposed while those that do can rise into contention almost overnight. And in that environment, building around Caitlin Clark with high IQ, multi-positional, defensively reliable players is no longer just a preference but a necessity, because her offensive gravity constantly bends defenses and creates openings that must be punished immediately through sharp cuts, strong finishes through contact, and consistent perimeter shooting, since without that level of support, even elite playmaking can be slowed down or neutralized by disciplined defensive schemes. This is exactly why the Clark era cannot be shaped by caution or outdated roster logic centered around rigid veteran hierarchy, but instead demands a modern, fast-paced identity where every piece fits together to amplify her strengths while covering defensive weaknesses, creating a system that is aggressive, switchable, and balanced on both ends of the floor. Because anything less will inevitably limit what she can truly unlock as the franchise cornerstone. At the center of all of this is a very direct reality. Waiver opportunities and available talent are not abstract concepts or future considerations. They are immediate, Real-time roster solutions sitting right in front of the organization, and ignoring them does not just mean passing on a potential upgrade. It risks wasting critical developmental years of a generational talent, something fans are already recognizing, analysts are actively highlighting, and the entire league is watching closely. As this situation continues to unfold, if the front office fails to respond with clarity, urgency, and conviction in moments like this, it will not just be remembered as a single missed roster move, but as a defining turning point in the franchise's identity, where a potential contender either started to take real shape through bold, decisive action or slowly drifted into a cycle of missed opportunities and unrealized potential, while the chance to build something special was right there to be seized and ultimately left untouched. If you want more deep breakdowns like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.